Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Train Simulator Classic with a little something different today. And that's I'm going to be doing a full route, well, most of the route at least. And yeah, we're gonna do this route. And I'm gonna try and pop in every so often with tidbits of information. Though I don't know a huge amount about this route. This is West Coast Main Line South, starting from London Euston, which I've travelled from a grand total of once. And it goes all the way up to Birmingham New Street, Britain's second largest city. Well, West Coast Main Line South does at least. The entire West Coast Main Line goes as far as Glasgow. And you can get some trains that go that far, namely these things, Pendolinos, Class 390s. However, I'm not in a Class 390 today, nor am I in this, a Class 350. I am instead in this thing, Class 87. Specifically 87002. The one that is owned by Locomotive Services Limited, or LSL. And sometime last year in 2022, and possibly this year, they were doing charter services up and down the West Coast Main Line, usually as far as Birmingham, I think. And yeah, this entire rake is meant to be entirely LSL owned. A rake of Mark III coaches and a Mark III DVT. You'll note that there's quite a difference in quality between the DVT, the driving van trailer, and the carriage. That's because the DVT comes with the Class 90 pack that Armstrong Powerhouse did back in 2013. So yeah, quite old, and hopefully it gets an update at some point. The Class 87, though, was the main express locomotive on the West Coast Main Line for a number of years until the Pendolinos came along in sort of 2002-ish, and gradually the 87s were retired. Funnily enough, a large amount of them have ended up in Bulgaria, of all places. And I think there's a few in Hungary as well. Apparently they're still going strong there. A handful, though, have remained here, including this one, 87002, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the second 87 ever built. So first I need to set up the cab. I've already got the doors open. Need to unpause the game first. Yeah, we've got the audio going. So, first turn on the instrumentation, Shift W to activate the master key, Control N is the direction switcher. I can't remember what the proper name for it is. Sets the AWS horn off, basically saying that this cab is now set as the driving cab. Press K to turn off the tail lights, J and Control J to turn on the marker lights, and then H to turn on the headlight. And then we've got to go all the way to the DVT to turn on the tail lights. Where is that button? Tail lights. And the annoying thing is that usually 2 is the leading. Pressing 2 on the keyboard, it puts you on the leading outside external camera, which in this case is the DVT, because you spawn in this mission in that cab. That's the A end, the front of the locomotive, so to speak. I need to press R. Let go of the brakes, get them down to 70%. Guard buzzer has just gone off, and that is giving us the go ahead. reverse into forwards, the cooling fans are going, and because there's a tap changer, as you can see up here, we've got some dials moving upwards. We don't want to go into the red at all. Have I even done this mission before? Potentially. It didn't have a green tick to it, so I'm doing it. 15 miles an hour maximum speed out of the platform, with a 25 mile an hour at the end. Keep the train on this power notch. As this is an 87, because of the tap changer transformer, or whatever it's called, there are 39 notches of power, with notches 38 and 39 both counting as weak field. Basically, you're getting the most amount of power out of those two notches. Now into the 25 mile an hour section, we can start tap changing up a few notches to 25 miles per hour, which is now the maximum permitted speed. Though that won't be the case for much longer, as we're about to go into 40 mile an hour permitted speed. AWS bell going off. This means we've just passed over the electromagnet. That's telling us we've got a signal just in front of us. There is a slight descent here, so I will put up a couple more notches of power. But we're going to be coasting for a brief moment. We don't have any timetables. And GSMR, we don't have any information for that. So usually that's something you'd have to activate, but because we don't have... Actually, no, we have got some information, so I've just... You can tell how long it's been since I've properly done anything in this simulator game. We're gonna run up for a while. A little bit. Because I need to activate the GSMR because I've been neglectful. So... I just at 1... no. Z41 016. You should have done that in the station, but it's my bad. There we go. Now picking up some speed. I'm gonna have to start letting off the notching down a little bit as we're approaching current permitted speed of 50 miles per hour. So that will be going up a few miles an hour as we enter the tunnel. However, because of the way the game works, you have to wait for the very last carriage to pass the speed board before it will actually allow you to start speeding up. Apply a few more notches. I'm doing this by holding U and then pressing A. If I don't press U, we just go straight into run up. I know it's hard to see because we're in the tunnel at the minute. This is a very unconventional locomotive, and all things considered, it doesn't have a throttle, so to speak. It's got this tap changer with different notches of power. 80 mile per hour max permitted speed, shortly going up to 100. However, I do believe that this is given a quirk of this scenario, because Armstrong Powerhouse, when they make their scenarios, they like to pay attention to the speed boards. Yeah, and it's our maximum permitted speed is still 80. So the lower speed is for the enhanced permitted speed for trains with tilting mechanisms. So the Pendolinos, the 390s, can do 100 down here. Maximum permitted speed going up to 85. So unfortunately the speeds we're getting here are lying to us. It says 105 on the HUD, but unfortunately it's actually going to be a bit more than that. We've run down a bit too far. To keep an eye on the speed board. Still 85 maximum permitted speed, which will be going up to around 110, which is the maximum speed of this locomotive. Now notch up a couple more times. 19 is now the maximum permitted speed, as we're passing a London Overground Class 378 in the siding to our right. Greens all the way at the minute. Maximum permitted speed is still 90. So we've notched up a bit more. Currently 80% of the transformer tap. I don't know what notch number that is, sadly. That's the maximum permitted speed for this locomotive should be going up to 110 with that 125 down there. And it's loading in. Still keep an eye on the speed boards. We are now at 90, so I'll not run down a little bit. Needs a couple more notches down. Make sure we don't exceed 90. I mean, we're at 90.4, but you only technically exceed once you reach 91. Maximum speed is now 110. Wait for the carriages to pass, and now we can run up all the way to notch 39 as we are passing through the first major station here, which I believe is Wembley Central. And of course it's not telling me on there. Go all the way back. Yes, Wembley Central. As we've passed, there's the Wembley Stadium all the way over there. That's the horrible new one. Lines on the left are the DC lines, shared between London Overground and the London Underground Bakerloo line, which is why there are 4 rails on each line. We've got neutral section, which I failed to notice the warning sign for, so we're going to have to wait for the transformer to notch all the way down before we can start notching back up. But we're at a good speed, at 100, coasting along, slowly losing speed. I think there may be a little bit too much friction on the wheels, but... Oh, that's something I forgot to do. Tap changer audio gives us a little bit of a... There we go. We can now hear the locomotive transformer notching up. As we've already passed a couple of 390s, and I think a 350 at one point. Should be greens for most of this time, however, we do have one signal to control tab, and that's on approach to Birmingham New Street, however, so don't have to worry about that for another 93.7 miles. There's also temporary speed restriction at Kings Langley. Neutral sections are not shown on the HUD. In fact, 101 miles actually to NS 154. Kings Langley then, I can never remember where that is. It's a while away, that's for sure. Don't think we're gonna have to worry about it for now. Gradually approaching 110, and now we can start notching down. And I've somehow managed to go all the way into off, but we're still coasting. I held the U key to tap down, but I guess I don't know. And because of this locomotive has this transformer tap, I'm able to maintain speed rather than having to switch between two different notches of power. I can keep it on one notch and it will stay in that notch for a good long while. Now we've got 110 coming up, however I believe that is still enhanced speed restriction, enhanced permitted speed, EPS. So I'm gonna allow the locomotive to slow down a bit, because sadly I don't know this route off by heart. I don't know the speeds it's meant to be. Southern Class 377 on the right there. They run as far up as Milton Keynes. Related to the 378s, 110 overall. I've notched down by mistake. Just going to start notching up again as we're approaching Watford. However, we're going through Bushy right now, and that's where the DC lines peel off, and we are now only on the the AC lines now. No more London Overground trains to be seen. Watford Junction is the station ahead. I believe we're still at 110 miles an hour. Maximum permitted speed, that is. Speedboard is for the points. 115 limit coming up, which shouldn't affect us. And the speed board is indeed 110. And now we can start to notch down. I try and get it to around the 80 mark. As we're passing another Pendolino. And if we keep the transformer notch around that area, we should maintain speed. However, we've got the TSR coming up. So let's start loosening off and apply the brakes. I think we're coming in a bit too fast, so we're going to maximum, which means the passengers will probably be feeling a little bit of a G-force at the minute. And we should hit it just in time. There we go. I've got a worker there, that's why I've hit the horn. Speed restriction ends at the platform here, but we've still got to wait for the full train to pass through. This is King's Langley. In a moment the DVT clears, we can now go all the way to 110 again. What I've been doing there was just holding it in run-up 100%, allowing the transformer to climb as many notches as I can, and now we can go all the way to Weakfield 2, notch number 39, and allow the locomotive to accelerate at maximum rate. Still got lots of greens. Yellow ahead, but it's for the opposite line. approaching 110. We just had an AWS buzzer. You get those from time to time. One that will always set off the AWS, regardless of the signal aspect. Is that green up ahead? It is. It looks like we've still got all greens ahead of us. It looks like there's a couple trains coming towards us. One of them might be cargo. And we do have a neutral section coming up. I did notice the black neutral section signs, which is the warning sign. Currently at around 108, 107 miles an hour. And we've got a Pendolino, Euston bound. And it is not two trains coming towards us. It was only one. The other one is going in the same direction we are. We can now start running up again. At the yellow there. 115 it says, which I believe is maximum line speed rather than enhanced permitted speed. So you should be able to go back up to 110. Unless we're meant to go 100. Meant to go 100. Let's apply a little bit of brakes. Bit of the regenerative braking. That's 100 through this turn. Class 350 on the other line. The slow lines is train bound. As speed limit goes back to 110. And looks like that train is, the 350 is slowing down. Not for the next station though. It is definitely going slower than us, as that line has a slower maximum permitted speed. Got a slight incline of 1 and 335. Don't know what that means. Hell, I wouldn't even know what a 1 if it was in percentages. Gradient ratios and percentages, just a big mystery to me. Just realised I've forgotten to turn on the driver vigilance device. I hate the thing, but I wouldn't be able to drive without it. And still got a very clear line ahead of us. Looks like we're going to be green all the way to Birmingham International, 72.25 miles away. And that's the DVD, the driver vigilance device. It's basically a foot pedal. The driver has their foot resting on it, and if no controls have been touched for about 60 seconds, then it will go off and force you to lift your feet off of it, lift it up, just to acknowledge that you have not nodded off to sleep or worse. Or in my case, get distracted by looking at Reddit. I have only ever travelled on the West Coast Main Line once. Well, I guess twice, technically. Once to Coventry and the second time back from Coventry. That was back in April when I went to see Sabaton with my sister. Sabaton was in Cardiff, but we drove to Cardiff, so yeah. Drove to Cardiff in the car along the M5? I don't know. First and only time I've ever been to Wales. Kinda weird. Losing a little bit of speed. It's okay. We're still going at 109. 108, so I'm gonna apply another notch of power. Detritus along the side of the track, giving me the impression that there's a sign ahead. There is not. DVD going up again. And of course you may note that this current route, this scenario as it is at the minute, it's not lagging and stuttering as much as it used to. Well, first, it's not on my old PC anymore. And second, it's not on an external hard drive anymore, which wasn't helping. Now it's on my internal solid state drive. So yeah. Everything going swimmingly. Now the neutral section ahead though. So we will completely turn off the power, allow the transformer to tap change all the way back down to 0. Hopefully in time for the neutral section, when we will briefly lose power to the locomotive, as such a neutral section is meant to do. Transformer, the cooling fans turn off very briefly before getting line power back. We have a speed limit ahead, 110. Need to verify if that is EPS or MPS. Enhanced permitted speed and maximum permitted speed. Just around the corner here. There's definitely MPS is 90, so technically we're speeding right now. Unfortunately, there's not a lot I can do unless I memorize this route like the back of my hand, which I like to use a lot of routes, so it's a bit of a tall order for me. Of course, you'll note that I keep alt-tabbing to the Streamlabs just to make sure that have my microphone on or off. Notch up a little bit. We've got 125 EPS ahead. We'll verify if the MPS is 110. Can't tell at the minute. Just a bit too far away. MPS is 110. We can start notching up. As it will take the locomotive a little bit. Well, we have now just hit notch 39. We can now start accelerating to 110 miles per hour. As there's a motorway to our left. And I've got to say that this is a much better view than the view on the Pendolino I had going up to Coventry. That was horrible. And do you want to know why? I was facing backwards, and whilst it was technically a window seat, there was no window. I had the dreaded windowless seat. So yeah, that was fun. Felt rather queasy after that. I don't understand why such seats exist. Why they can't just put seats back to back rather than making an airline style seat and chucking it on an area that has no window. You need the window, honestly. You have to see the outside world, otherwise you get so disoriented. Nauseous. That was a horrible journey. I had someone next to me as well. A girl. Got off, when did she get off? Or no, she stayed on when I got off at Coventry. I think so, anyway. Yeah. Wonder what she was thinking about me. Was she hating the seat as much as I was? Was she hating sitting next to me? Did I smell? I don't know. I do try my best to not smell, but personal hygiene's always been a bit of a bugbear for me. At least I'm not saying a slob. Not saying I'm covered in dirt and smell so bad I could shrivel up through. But sometimes I just don't shower as often as I should. I don't know. I think that's something no one really likes. Showers, I suppose. I mean, baths are nice. As we've got AWS telling us about the speed limit coming up to move on to the opposing tracks, which is completely unnecessary for us. Can add another notch. I needed to MPS still 110, as we are going to power through a station here. We're going to add another notch. Ah! Why would you do that? I think there's a station coming up. Yes, indeed there is. This is Milton Keynes, I do believe. Indeed it is. Milton Keynes Central. I can't believe you're just allowed to power through there at maximum line speed, but oh well. Still got greens, as we are now 54.25 miles away from Birmingham International. Our first and only real intermediate stop. One notch down. Once you get the hang of these tap change locomotives, you start to get to really know how to drive them. And that's the when I first drove the Class 86 that came with the West Coast Main Line route, the original West Coast Main Line North. I hated it. I could not understand it. I didn't know what a tap changer was. I at the time, the only things I had driven were the power went up and the brakes went down. So I didn't understand why I was going to 100% power and it was just braking. But yeah, eventually looked up a driving guide and figured out, oh, I've been driving it wrong, and once I got the hang of it, I've actually come to really like these locomotives. Driving them, at least. Of course, with the Armstrong Powerhouse versions, it's a lot easier to avoid the power cutouts. And when you do get them, it's easier to fix the fault. Hell, it makes a lot of... It actually fixes the fault, because with the original West Coast Mainline Class 86, you'd hit the F button to acknowledge the fault to try and clear it, and just nothing would happen. As we're passing through an old abandoned station. Do I know what that station is? I don't remember. Well, I know that sounds a bit contradictory, but I should know what that station is called. At least I think I should know what it's called. That doesn't look right. That was weird. Lights on the light cluster on the DVT textureless for a moment. I'm not sure why. We have another overhead neutral section coming up, so we're going to run down to 0 again. Completely turn off the transformer. I don't know if you're meant to put it into neutral. I mean, with a normal and more modern multiple unit, I think the train would start going to an emergency the moment you put it into neutral. But with this thing, it looks like you can put it into neutral whilst it's still moving. Anyway, we can start running back up to 110. Still the maximum permitted speed for locomotives and anything without tilting mechanisms. Back into notch 39, which enables us to run up to 110. Most Class 86s, the predecessor of the Class 87, only had 38 notches, which meant the maximum speed of that locomotive was 100. However, I think it was the 86/4s were sort of known as Greyhound units. Had that extra 39th notch, which also enabled them to run to 110. And of all of these early AC EMUs, I've gone down to 0 by mistake, whoops. But yeah, for all the early AC EMUs from class 81 to 87, only one of them had, well, out of all those hundreds of locomotives that were built, only, or was it dozens? I don't know. But only one singular unit had what you could consider a modern power system. That's useful. And that was Class 87, number 101. The only 87/1, which did away with the transformer tap and instead had a thyristor control. As I understand, the cab was very similar in design to the normal 87, right down to still having a transformer tap like this. But it worked quite differently. I think it could work in the traditional transformer tap way, but you could also get it to behave much more like a modern locomotive. So you could go down to 0 and then back up to 100. And you would get power immediately, rather than having to wait for the transformer to notch all the way back down before you could start applying power again, which, you know, that's very useful to have. Unfortunately, 87-101 was scrapped in 2002. Had one of the shorter service lives of a Class 87, which is a real shame, because it was unique. It is, of course, simulated here in the Armstrong Powerhouse Class 87 locomotive pack. It is identifiable from a standard Class 87 in that it has some extra boxes on top of the roof here. Quite noticeable square-looking boxes. Additional equipment for the thyristor controls. Only one of its power modes actually gets it, what's the word? Something. Huh. Yeah, it gets simulated, that's the word. Because trying to simulate both would have been a bit too difficult. I think the advanced setting, whatever they called it, that was going to be quite a challenge to simulate, so they just went with one, which you can understand. Armstrong Powerhouse has come under fire quite a lot recently for being quite lazy with some things, and you know that is warranted. But sometimes some things are going to be too much of a hassle. And I reckon this extra power mode would have been just that. 100 is our maximum permitted speed. Technically speeding, the brakes were not going on even though I pressed the button. So it's going to be a little bit of a rough ride for our passengers. At 100 though, we'll start notching back up immediately. Stop coasting so much and start maintaining speed before we're allowed to go back up to 110 in 3/4 of a mile. Run up the power just a little bit too much. Now holding around 98 miles per hour. Gaining slowly, not too quickly though. 110 MPS. And we can start notching back up. Now a notch 39, weak field 2, and able to go back up to 110 maximum permitted speed and maximum locomotive speed. And of course 110 is a doddle for the Mark III coaches. They are designed to do 125. So yeah, we've unfortunately the inevitable has happened. I've mixed up my push to talk. I thought I turned it off, evidently didn't press it hard enough, and so I've just talked a little bit, and it's not been recorded because I turned it off when I thought I was turning it on. Not to worry, not the most crucial of information, at least. We've got 110 miles an hour coming up. I'm going to keep going down to 0 when I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to start braking to 100 just in case. It might be that it's 110 MPS rather than EPS. We'll see. It's just at the tunnel entrance here. It looks like 110 MPS for everything. We could start notching up. And there's another neutral section ahead, which is slightly irritating to have two in such relatively close proximity. Now, Coventry will be approaching. Where is Coventry? Oh, we've got Rugby ahead. Coventry, then, is here. So I know I've had some issues with this scenario in the past, where the creator of the scenario misprogrammed one of the AI services, AI trains, and the departure time of that unit was just a bit too late, so I was left waiting outside of one of the platforms for ages. $110 is still the maximum permitted speed. We've got a freight train going on the flyover. Should be being hauled by 66. No, it's being hauled by 68. Got that Caterpillar engine rumbling, and we've got a 56 sitting in the one of the bay platforms for Rugby, as we're able to go straight through on the bypass line. It's probably not the official term for that kind of track, but the through line, maybe. The loop. And we've got another neutral section. It's coming thick and fast, these neutral sections. That's just how it works sometimes. So we're on the line, the branch heading towards Birmingham New Street. There is another line through the west coast. We'll be going through Nuneaton. This part of the West Coast Main Line goes through Birmingham New Street. At least I think it's part of the West Coast Main Line. Could be mistaken there. And we've got yet another Pendolino heading towards us. And that's a 9-carriage/0 variant. So, moment of truth approaching. Have I managed to fix the scenario, or am I going to have to do it again? Which would be irritating, but sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. I just realised that movie's 20 years old. I think I was 10 when I first watched it. Yeah. I love that movie, though. And I love Jim Carrey. Sure, he's made some mistakes, but he's made up for them. He's owned up to them. And that's one of my favourite Jim Carrey films. I think The Mask might be my most favourite. But yeah, Bruce Almighty. Great film. Lovely bit of fiction. In a world where, what if the Christian God was real? They say God works in mysterious ways. Yeah, so mysterious that he doesn't appear to be doing anything. Anyway. Not another neutral section, is it? No. Just a roadside trackside bit of detritus or some sort of power box. Oh, we've got 75 mile an hour limit ahead. And I think this is where I had troubles before. Now I see a red signal, but that's instantly changed to green. I think this time around, the last time I tried this scenario, I had yellow signals, and I think I have managed to fix this. And to apply a bit more brakes. As we are heading through Coventry now, there is a Class 70. And yes, this is indeed where I had issues last time. And I was sailing through Class 70, waiting for us to pass by, whereas last time I think I had to wait for it. Or perhaps was it at a different station? I'm not sure. We'll have to see, because this is not actually looking that recognisable. It might have been at Birmingham International itself, actually, so we've got another 10.25 miles to find out. Give or take. No more 125 mile per hour sections down here. Into weak field 2 to allow us the extra acceleration to reach 100. Right, we do have yellow signals, a double yellow, giving us a bit of a warning. Start braking. Is it double or single? I think it says double. Center on me, please. I need to see what exactly is going on. Ah, yes, it's another train ahead of us, so we're chasing the yellows here now as we're approaching another neutral section. Playing with the lights, which used to tank my frame rate before, and now so nice. So got a bit of a yellow chasing to do. I'm gonna keep coasting. I'm not gonna apply any power. Not really gonna be have much of a point because we've got the neutral section right there. Train ahead is more than likely a Pendolino. 100 miles per hour max permitted speed. However, we've still got the yellows to chase. And we'll apply a bit of power to enable us to not lose power speed as quickly. However, we just got a green there, which means the Pendolino ahead is gradually pulling away. It has a top speed, a maximum permitted speed of 110, or rather the enhanced permitted speed, so we can gradually start catching it a little bit. However, it might be approaching a station actually. So I get the feeling we might have to start braking. So I'm gonna apply first notch of brake, and indeed we are gonna need to start braking. So because we've got single yellow right ahead and a red after that. Now here's our problem bit. Birmingham International. I did reprogram one of the trains. ETA 1854, hopefully. It remains like that, though I think we're meant to be there a bit earlier? Doesn't say. Right, coast all the way to the red. Is this... hang on, Birmingham New Street is NS154. This is CB4091. So whilst we... oh, there we go. We have the road. Now, it was this unit here that was the troublemaker, I think. This one is not a service. So it is not going to be much trouble. It is parked. It's just the one that's trying to go to Wales that is going to be the issue. I think I don't remember what time I set it to leave at, or if I even saved those changes. Another yellow. You can even see the Pendolino ahead. In fact, that's just gone to a double yellow. Still chasing yellows at the minute, though. We're going to keep coasting at around 50 miles an hour. We'll see what happens. And yeah, the Pendolino is pulling in. Yeah. Right idea to coast. Now we can start braking. We do have the red. Now, I'm going to keep an eye on these things, and that train still has not moved. And I think the irritating thing about it is, for some reason, it was set to go through the platform I was meant to be stopping at for some reason, which makes no real sense. I should have been pulling into one of these. Don't know if I changed that or not. But yeah, we might have the end of the video coming soon if things don't work out. Regen braking is just deactivated, hence the clunk of the transformer. We are now on the locomotive brakes, well, train brakes only, as we're gradually coming to a halt. I can afford to crawl. Well, yeah. Oh, and we have just received the road, so things do appear to be fixed. So this hasn't left yet. MPS of 40. And we'll see what that Welsh Transport for Wales train does. Yes, this is much better. So pulling into Birmingham International Platform 2. Gradually coming to a halt. And this is our only intermediate stop before Birmingham New Street. Of course, the question is, what is that Transport for Wales train going to do? As we need to apply a bit more brakes. Try not to overrun the platform. There we go. Finally, we've managed to make it to the Birmingham International. And there's our culprit, a couple of 150s. Actually, a couple of 153s and a 158. And the question is, what time is it meant to leave? Because I don't remember when I sorted it out. Well, I don't know. We're meant to be stopped here a little bit longer. We're due in Birmingham New Street, 1913. And at the minute, ETA is 1909. So I'm going to wait until 1855 and see when this train this train is going to move at that point. Still got the red signal, of course, because I'm in the platform it's meant to be going through, I think. And I've hit the wrong button. It's not going, so obviously I didn't reprogram the platform, but oh well, we have the road. .40 miles an hour max as we pull out of the station. Making sure to keep acceleration at maximum allowed levels. Maximum tolerances, rather. I think as soon as we pass the signal there, this train is going to go. Well, that's a double yellow. Oh, it just turned green though. So let's see if this train gets the road. It does, but it hasn't left yet. So yeah, it was given the wrong departure time. It should have moved. I'm going to stay with it a little bit longer. It would have got moving by now. I'm going to start running down because I think we're catching the train ahead again. Yeah, he's probably stopped at Lee Hall, maybe. Actually, that's not a Pendolino, that's a set of three Class 350s. So that's a 12-carriage train. So once again, chasing the yellows. And our friend, the Transport for Wales service, did eventually start moving. Seems that it happened a bit later than expected. But ideally should have been going into a different platform rather than the one I started on. Oh, was stopping in. Oh well. So now, it's not about maximum speed, it's just about chasing the yellows and managing our speed. And remembering to hit the AWS and the DVD when it tells us to. Got another neutral section ahead. It's going to be just after this platform. Still got double yellows, and that's just turned green, actually. So we can afford to speed up a little bit once we've passed through the neutral section. Or perhaps not. We'll add a few notches of power at least. I think. Try and maintain 70, I think. However, we are approaching 65 maximum speed. It's not 25, as that now applies to freight, of which we are not. So, lose a few notches. Actually, you know what? We'll just straight up coast. Because at this rate, we're not going to be doing much more accelerating. We are now within Birmingham New Street control. And I know that there's a faulty red signal ahead. On our right, at some point, we're going to be passing Birmingham Curzon Street, which is set to be the HS2 terminus. Maybe not for a little longer. So, the NS154. That is that one right there. Which is the signal controlling the entrance of the station. There's Curzon Street right there. The original station building. And they're doing all the work, as you can see, to create the HS2 station. I believe that is NS154. Indeed, it does appear to be. Yes, that is it. The faulty red signal. Gonna keep the brakes applied. We're not going to request permission until we have passed under the bridge. Keeping the speed low enough just in case it is denied. And control tab, it says denied. Denied. We're gonna overrun. Right, so, slight issue there. It's now not letting me go into reverse. I don't know why. Having some issues. I'm gonna have to manually do it then. Now I know it's not going to turn green. You wouldn't see a real driver doing this. Still says denied, so it's because of this Voyager. This cross-country Voyager that is coming out of the station. That is our road. And when that passes that signal, I think we will be clear to go. But we will give it a go. Approved. Yeah, so control and tab is fine. That's the one we need, at least. Maximum permitted speed is now 20, and there is no more AWS control. Except there's still DVD, of course. Vigilance. We'll continue to coast. At some point it goes down to 10. It's evil because it doesn't tell you on the HUD. Platform 2B. So down to 10, a bit more brakes. There we go. And gradually coast into the station. There's a little bit more power. And now we can coast. And 2B is right at the end. We are speeding. First time we've actually been counted as speeding the entire session. It does seem that there is a slight incline or descent. Not too much of one though, because we have now stopped gaining speed. We've leveled out. Now we're just coasting. End of the line. All change, please. This service terminates here. And soon it will be doing the return run back to Euston. With the Class 37 now providing pushing power to the Mark III DVT, which will now be leading. And of course, because it's a driving van, it doesn't have a motor. All the motors in here. Oh, the train goes to Manchester. Okay. Never mind. So it doesn't change here. It goes all the way to Manchester. But we do not have that route. It's at least I don't believe there's anyone who's simulated that route yet. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. And until next time, if there is one, thank you for watching, and good night.